Good evening, everybody. On behalf of Mayor Pat Fiacco and my colleagues on City Council, I'm pleased to be here to bring greetings and congratulations. And I would also like to acknowledge one of my other colleagues, Councillor Terry Hinks is here as well, and I'm pleased that he's here. I want to talk to you about four things. I want you to dream a little bit. I'm going to talk about a sad story. I want to talk about commitment and excellence, and I have a few comments for the inductees. As a member of City Council, I want you to know that I'm extremely proud about something that we've just done in the last little while. We have a vision for Regina. It was announced by our mayor earlier this week, and I want to read it to you just real briefly. I want you to imagine Regina in the year 2020, Canada's most vibrant, inclusive, attractive, sustainable community where people live in harmony and thrive in opportunity. What I want you to do is determine if that's the kind of place that you want to live, and let's make that a reality. I'm going to take the reality and I want to talk a little bit about something that's going on in our community and build a couple of points in here for you. We have a new situation going on in Ipsco Place. It's called renewal. We're going to have 6 ice pads under one roof. And with the refurbishment of the Brand Center, we're going to have 7 under one roof. Now look at the area, that middle core of our city. Nowhere else in North America do we have something such as a new facility like we're building, or a gathering place like Mosaic Stadium, a field house, a Lawson Aquatic Center, a credit union eventplex, all within walking distance. And it is in the heart of our city. We know that there's going to be hockey tournaments, ringette tournaments, the Royal Red, Agribition. All of those things are going to benefit from the new situation. Here's where I want you to dream. What else is possible? Do we build a new hotel in this area to service it? Does lacrosse have a new home each spring and summer? What about roller hockey? Can we take the old turf from Taylor Field? Yes, we saved it. And can we have more indoor soccer or any other activity in one of those new facilities? Can we have ice and dryland training going on at Credit Union Eventplex all at one time? Can we hold the CFL draft? Can we do player evaluations for the CFL? What's possible? What else can we dream about? Now I want to tell you a sad story. A few months ago, a friend of mine passed away, a good friend. I was able to work with the family and we held I guess I'll call it a funeral to celebrate his life. And as often true, a lot of people came, many people came. Kind words were expressed. It was a wonderful social gathering, and many good stories were shared. I dare say most of the people that were there hadn't been together as a group since they last competed together or were coached by this gentleman. When it was all over, I remarked to some friends that I take exception to funerals. I wondered if all of those people had said to my friend what they felt that they said on that funeral day. So I said, you know what, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little note in the paper one day that so-and-so had died. I'm going to have everybody come, and then I'm going to have this person come out, and I want everybody to say all the things that they should say to him, and I want them to celebrate as we should celebrate everybody's life. Sounds like a corny idea, but we have an opportunity. What I feel sad about today is that 2 of our inductees, Mr. Cuthbert and Mr. Captain, are not here. I'm not sure that people told them how they felt. I challenge you when you leave this room to think about all of the people that have made our community, our sporting community, very strong in Regina. And if they are worthy, I ask you to nominate them for the Regina Sport Hall of Fame. Let us give those people a chance to hear our good words. Now I'd like to turn my attention to all of the people in this room. When I look around the room and the people in it, an understanding of most of you, all of you I think anyway, have an attachment to sport in some way, I'm reminded why I love sport. I came early tonight. I saw most of you enter the room. You shook hands with acquaintances, you smiled, you made eye contact, you exchanged stories, and there was a lot of laughter. I suspect that at some point in time, many of you may have been even rivals, competing as coaches or athletes against one another. And I know that in amateur sport, it is not only common, but expected that at the end of the game or the match, you handshake. Funny how a simple ritual, the exchange of pleasantries, can lead to a lifelong understanding of how we should treat people. The ability to place one's ambitions or emotions in check and to acknowledge your friends or opponents' gifts. That tells me a lot about the power of sport. But I do believe that there's another aspect of you in this room, and to some degree, hopefully always in sport, that is also worth noting. All of you understand the value of making a commitment. Ownership and responsibility follow. So does a sense of belonging and community follow. But maybe most important of all, what really follows is excellence. Do not assume that this notion of commitment and excellence is the norm. It is my honor to be in your company. Lastly, I would like to make a few comments to those that are being inducted. I'm okay if all of you listen, but I want to speak to them for a minute. I'm very pleased to tell you, the inductees and the extended family, that we are all here today to support you. It is important that we have this opportunity to tell you of the impact you've had on our community and on each of us. I happen to have a strong feeling about our city. It has been my lifelong home. As a kid, I had the opportunity to compete in sport because there were people who coached and organized. And they did something that I cherish very much. They made it fun. My children, through school and community, had that same opportunity. Each of you, inductees, have taken the values, the good values that come from competition, and have displayed them throughout your life. You have added a sense of community in Regina, and indeed to our province. Your efforts in doing so, in competing and working in our community, have made all of us better. It is my honor, in representing the citizens of Regina, Saskatchewan, Canada, to thank you for benefiting our city in your positive actions, your sense of community, and sharing your talents. This is your night. All of us present are honored to be with you. Thank you for listening. May God bless.
Thank you very much, Mike. I'd now like to call upon the president of the Regina Sports Hall of Fame, Marlene Hoffman, to bring welcome. Marlene.
Thank you, Craig. Thank you, Mike. That was very informative and touching. Enjoyed it. Good evening. Welcome to our 5th annual Regina Sports Hall of Fame induction ceremony. Our inductees tonight are very worthy, and I congratulate every one of you for your contribution to the city. The Regina Wall of Fame is located out at the University of Regina. The site is currently under construction, but I've been assured that the wall will be up by the end of October. Right, Dick? Absolutely. So please take the time to stop out after October to the Kinesiology Building at the University of Regina in the main lobby to see the hall. On display here tonight is our Sports Connection. It is another way of displaying our hall along with all of the other halls in the province of Saskatchewan, which there are 7. Every inductee and their citation is on the computer. It's up here on the side. It's a touch screen computer, so you can clue in by sport or by name to see everyone who's been inducted in this province. Check it out later before you go home if you'd like to see it. Also on display up the front is the Saskatchewan Sports Hall of Fame and Museums display. There's some very neat pictures up here that Jackie Campbell put up for us today from the Saskatchewan Hall, and we thank you for that. I want to thank our sponsors. Our founding sponsor is Molson's. Our funding from the Saskatchewan Sports Hall of Fame and through the Saskatchewan Lotteries, the University of Regina for our display, Access Communications for taping tonight and for doing a disc up for all of our inductees. Tonight happens with a great deal of time and effort by the board, and I thank all of them, especially our ceremony chair, Marty Sanderson, our ticket chair, Gary Mather, and for media and publicity, Daryl Davis. The board works very hard to put all of this together, and I thank them very much for their support. Congratulations. Thank you. Congratulations, inductees. This is your special night. Enjoy yourselves. It's all for you. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Marlene. Before we get to our induction, our official induction ceremony, what we usually do every year, people who haven't been in the past, is we like to recognize those individuals that maybe weren't able to be here before, who have been inducted as well. Certificates to the Saskatchewan Sports Hall of Fame inductees who have had Regina ties, not able to attend previous inductions. Cass Pilak, I believe, is here, and I'd like him to come forward. Is Cass here? Oh. Originally, I was supposed to give it to Cass. Thank goodness I didn't. Yeah. Big kiss. Congratulations, Cass. Presentation of plaques, as Marlene had mentioned, the plaques actually were on display at the university for the past year. So last year's inductees actually haven't had the chance to get their plaques until tonight. And so we would like them to now come forward to receive those plaques. A couple of people aren't here to attend. George Chiga is unable to be here. He was an athlete in wrestling. We will send that plaque out to him. Rhonda Holt, athlete in racquetball, is here, and she's also going to be inducted later as well as part of a team. So, Rhonda. Speech? Somebody? No? We had Rhonda did not want to say a speech last year, but you did a great job. You did? Yes, you did. You did a wonderful job. Kit Peterson, athlete in handball. I don't think Kit is here tonight, but we will make sure that his plaque gets to him. Tom Shepard, is he here tonight? Oh yeah, no speech, no. Builder in football. Congratulations, Tom. Another wonderful job with the tickets for the Rough Riders. Are we sold out yet? 90%. 90%. So, and I believe he has some forms with him tonight. Del Wilson, builder in hockey, to be accepted on his behalf by Margaret Campbell tonight. And also to the 2005 Kyle George curling team, to be accepted by the coach of the team, Dwayne Mahalitz. Dwayne is here tonight to accept it on behalf of the team. Congratulations to all of last year's inductees. The names of the honored inductees are on the large plaque, as Marlene had mentioned, during the course of the year at the U of R. Also, during this past year, we lost a wonderful woman, a dear friend, and a past inductee, and also a person who was on the board of the Regina Sports Hall of Fame, Wilma Downing. Always brought a smile to our face. She always warmed up a room, whether it was with her smile or her bright orange jacket. And just like to take a moment of silence to remember Wilma tonight. Thank you. Well, it's now time to get on to our official induction ceremony tonight. And please just pay attention to the PowerPoint presentation to the corner of the room, as we'll have some slideshow presentation as well. The achievements will be read, and the inductees will come onto the stage, and their plaques will be here as well. And there'll be a brief, although Leo McGee is here, I was going to say a brief speech. But anyway, we'll get things going as well. Our first induction this evening is in the team category, and it is for wrestling. The University of Regina Cougars 1996-97 men's wrestling team won Regina's first ever national championship. They were coached by Leo McGee. The Cougars were 8-0 in dual meets and ranked 7th in Canada when they entered the Canada West GPAC Championship at the University of Saskatchewan before defeating top-rated Calgary to win the conference title. 6 wrestlers won medals, and the school won 34 of 40 matches, but heading into the national championship, they still were seeded 3rd, while Calgary remained number 1. At the CIAU Championship at McMaster University in Hamilton, the Cougar wrestlers set a CIAU record with 72 points, as all 10 wrestlers contributed with points. 6 Cougars advanced to gold medal matches, and 1 went on to a 3rd place match, but losses by Lise Bertram, Sean Thompson, and Scott Schmidt left the championship in doubt until the final heavyweight bout between Regina's Dean Schmeichel and Brock's Leo Klipnick, with the winner claiming the crown for the school. Schmeichel won 10-0 in just 1 minute and 52 seconds. Team members for there were Fazal Anwar, Lise Bertram, David Cardosa, Chris Cox, Brett Fennell, Mark Fitzpatrick, Scott General, Adrian Gilmore, Jared Kirkland, Rob Lang, Tony Nethercutt, Craig Norman, Chad Regetta, Dean Schmeichel, Scott Schmidt, Devin Schneider, Joe Tassar, Sean Thompson, and David Vickers. The Cougars were one of 3 finalists for the Saskatchewan Sports Team of the Year in 1997. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together and congratulate the 96-97 University of Regina men's Cougar wrestling team on their induction into the Regina Sports Hall of Fame. With us tonight is the coach, Leo McGee, Fazal Anwar, Jared Kirkland, Rob Lang, Craig Norman, Joseph Tassar, and Sean Thompson. Speaking on behalf of the team tonight is their head coach, Leo McGee, and I did have the pleasure of working in the media during this time, and I did do a lot of interviews with these guys over the course of the year, and believe me, you'll never find a more dedicated group of individuals than these guys were, and it was a real pleasure in covering them for that entire season. Leo?
Thank you. On behalf of the 1997 men's wrestling team at the University of Regina, I first want to take the opportunity to congratulate all the inductees here tonight, both the individuals and the teams, their coaches, the administration around them, their families, and the support group. I also want to take the opportunity to thank the committee that has put this function in place, and I want to tell you on behalf of the team here what a tremendous honor it is to be recognized in our city by the Regina Sports Hall of Fame. I'll be brief. The 1997 men's wrestling team at the U of R, I guess a colleague of mine once put it like this: it's easy in a sporting arena to find a group that wants to win, or to find individuals that want to win. The secret is finding a group willing to do the work it takes to win. And I think that's a tremendous description of this group. The other thing I was going to say before I step down is it takes an environment to win. And I was very, very fortunate, and I guess before I say that, from myself to the athletes, sincerely, I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to spend the time with you, pursuing something that was very, very passionate to you in your life. In terms of environment, I was very fortunate at the University of Regina, and it started with administration and back with the late Neil Sherlock. Dr. Don Clark was my master coach when I came to the University of Regina. Dr. Ernie Nichols, who really got the sport clicking back in the 60s, just about around the time of my birth, early 60s. And then, of course, there's one common denominator, and if you talk to wrestling coaches across the nation, there's been one person in sport at the University of Regina in the sport of wrestling that hasn't received the recognition he should, and he's been there as a supporter of wrestling, a leading administrator in the nation, a supporter of intercollegiate wrestling, the high school wrestling, and the international wrestling. And I've been told by wrestling coaches nationwide that I've got the best situation in the world with Dick White, and I appreciate what Dick's done for wrestling in our program here at the University of Regina. Last thing is this group, this team, they're the product of a group of people. Those people, 2 groups. First group, the province of Saskatchewan, the High School Athletic Association. We were at a time in the sport when the sport was strong from north to south, from east to west. The high school wrestling coaches in Regina and in Saskatchewan produced this team. There's some people, and I'll just quickly go through some names because I'd be remiss if I didn't take this opportunity. And they start up north with Brian Vickers, with Gary Fry, Joseph Tessar Sr., Terry Pace out of Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan. A guy by the name of Andy Arsenault down in Swift Current, Saskatchewan. In Regina here, there was the Don Thompsons, Bob Lowe, there's Earl Fennell, Dwayne Wright, Kelly Dumont, and then a guy that I consider the dean of coaches at the time was a guy from Eston, Saskatchewan, and his name was Bill Wood. Thank you very much on behalf of wrestling.
Congratulations once again. Our second inductee this evening is Jimmy Cuthbert, representing the sport of badminton. Jimmy dominated the sport of badminton in Regina from 1936 to 1950. He won 7 straight Triple Crowns as the men's singles, the men's doubles, and the mixed doubles championship at the Regina District and Wascana Winter Club tournaments. Due to the Second World War, tournaments were not held from 1942 to 1947, so his streak started in 1936 and carried through 1941. He also won all 3 events in 1948. Jimmy's doubles partners were Art Booth and Lois Wan. In 1949, the year he moved to Weyburn, he lost the Regina singles final to Don Hodges, but extended his doubles wins to 9 straight by winning men's and mixed championships with Denny Nickel and Pat Heisler as his respective partners. He also won his doubles events in 1935. Jimmy was an undersized player who relied on good strategy, a devastating smash, and an exacting shot placement. Cuthbert regularly played against Saskatchewan Sports Hall of Fame inductee Frank Longbridge of Moose Jaw, who defeated him in the 1941 provincial singles final. Cuthbert teamed with Harold Johnston to win the Saskatchewan Men's Doubles Championship in 1933, and originally he was a member of the Carmichael Badminton Club before joining the Wascana Winter Club. He was well known for organizing badminton events. He was a talented tennis player and a golfer. He was born June 22nd, 1913 in Regina, passing away September the 14th, 1989. Representing Jimmy Cuthbert this evening is his son, who resides in Swift Current, Barry Cuthbert. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Jimmy Cuthbert, inducting into the sport of badminton the Regina Sports Hall of Fame.
Thank you very, very much on behalf of my father. I really want to thank you for such a great honor you bestowed upon my father. As mentioned, my dad passed away in 1989, and this induction ceremony has brought him back to life for us. The reason for that is all these years growing up, my dad never ever mentioned to us that he had competed or had any success at this level of competition. Dad was married when he was 35 years old and had completed his badminton career long before us kids came along. Dad obviously assumed that part of his life was over, never to be recognized again, so consequently never felt compelled to tell his children of his endeavors. Lucky enough, though, a very special gentleman I had never met before tonight put my father's nomination together without our prior knowledge. He did all the research, all the work for this nomination, and I would ask you now on behalf of our family to recognize someone I'm sure most of you do know, Mr. Jack England. And to your organizing committee, this may show you another very worthwhile value of your association as you have reopened a portion of my dad's life that we all knew very little of, and helped us discover and preserve something special in our memories. It has been a very great learning experience for us. Again, a very special thank you to Jack for all his time and effort, and on behalf of the Jim Cuthbert family, especially the ones that couldn't be here with us tonight, we would like to thank the board members of the Regina Sports Hall of Fame for bringing my father back to life in our hearts. Thank you for this tremendous honor, and I wish to congratulate you on this lovely evening you people have put on. Thank you very much.
Well done, Barry. Thank you. Our next inductee is well known to Regina, Wayne Cartouche, a builder in the sport of hockey. Wayne served as the president of the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League from 1997 until 2003, a role he served along with being the Saskatchewan Hockey Association's chairman of junior hockey, Hockey Canada's director of junior hockey, and a member of the Junior Council and of the Hockey Development Council. Wayne became SJHL president after coaching the Regina Pad Blues Junior A team from 1971 until 1977, and he officiated junior hockey from 1966 to 1971 while playing senior hockey for the Regina Caps, and he later served as a volunteer coach in the Queen City Minor Hockey Association. Wayne played for the junior Regina Pats from 1958 to 1960, the University of Michigan from 1960 to 1963, and the Windsor Bulldogs of the International Hockey League from 1963 to 1964. He obtained a Bachelor of Science in Education from the University of Michigan in 1964 and a Master of Education from the University of Pittsburgh in 1965, majoring in phys ed. Wayne started teaching school at Sacred Heart Academy in 1965 and continued working with Regina Catholic Schools until his retirement as principal of Miller Comprehensive High School in 1996. He was deeply involved in the community as well, serving as president of the Saskatchewan Parkinson's Disease Foundation. He was a member of the Buffalo City Kinsman Club and Regina Crime Stoppers. He received awards including the SHA and Canadian Junior A Hockey Life Membership, plus recognition from Hockey Canada and the SJHL. Wayne Cartouche was born in Regina October 26, 1939. Currently divides his time between a home in Ironwood, Michigan and Lacombe, Alberta. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Wayne Cartouche, builder in the sport of hockey, into the Regina Sports Hall of Fame.
Thank you very much. I'm extremely proud to be part of this year's inductees, as well as joining the illustrious group that are already members in Regina Sports Hall of Fame. It is particularly overwhelming for me, as this is my second induction into the Sports Hall of Fame this year. What a humbling and grateful experience this has been. I'm proud to be from Saskatchewan and especially Regina, and will always consider myself a Reginian, even though we now live in Alberta. When one gets involved in sports, rewards and special honors are never expected. So it makes this induction even more special. In Saskatchewan, sports is the way of life, and I really believe that Saskatchewan is the sports capital of Canada, with Regina leading the way. This success doesn't come by chance, but is reliant on the dedication of the many volunteers who keep things on track. Unfortunately, for those who become involved, family time suffers somewhat. We must pay tribute to our families for their support. And as far as I'm concerned, the spouses should also be inducted. You know you have been away too much. When you come home, 1 o'clock in the morning, the dog growls at you when you enter your bedroom. My wife and I toured the original Olympic site in Greece last month. It was very interesting to learn more about the origin of competitive sporting events. Initially, the competitions were for male only, with females being thrown over the cliff if they were caught watching the games. Now, at the onset of the Olympic Games, the male athletes participated in the nude. It didn't take long before the women started their own competitions and corrected the male-only concept, which paved the way for everyone to become involved in sport. I was very fortunate in having great people to work with throughout my years of involvement in hockey, and would like to give special thanks to all the people involved in the Saskatchewan Hockey Association, Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League, and Hockey Canada for allowing me to be a part of helping make this great game even better. And I would like to thank the Regina Sports Hall of Fame Committee for this evening and for my induction. And I'm particularly proud to be joining my late father in this Hall of Fame as well. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Wayne. Wayne served as the SJHL president when I played back in the league with the Yorkton Terriers back in the 80s, and he didn't have to suspend me once. Tough to suspend a player that sits on the bench, so. Our fourth inductee is Cappy Kaplan, a builder for fastball. In 1970, the City of Regina Mayor Henry Baker honored Cappy Kaplan's contributions to the sport and the community by naming Regina's premier fastball facility, Kaplan Field, home for the Regina Carlings and the Regina Molson senior men's fastball teams that he managed during his 43 years of involvement with the sport. Regina teams became a founding partner of the Western Major Fastball League in 1973, along with teams from Saskatoon, Winnipeg, Edmonton, and Calgary after withdrawing the Carlings from the Intercity Fastball League. Cappy became involved in men's fastball in 1958 after forming the Army and Navy Bombers women's team, for whom he was the general manager and coach from 1939 to 1940 and from 1946 to 1957. The Bombers won 6 city championships under his guidance. As GM and coach with the Regina Royals men's team, he won several city championships and tournaments in Weyburn, Minot, and Plentywood, North Dakota. Kaplan tirelessly promoted the sport of fastball within Regina. His team became the Red Caps before becoming the Carlings in 1970 and the Molsons in 1976. And then longtime assistant Bill Rickard became the coach while Kaplan remained the GM and the governor. Molson's won 1977 WMFL pennant with a .689 winning percentage, earning an invitation to the 1978 International Softball Congress Championships in Kimberley, Wisconsin, where a third place finish was the highest for any previous Canadian team. Cappy was named the B'nai B'rith Sportsman of the Year in 1976 and the Personality of the Year in 1980. He was born September 14th, 1913 in Brandon, and he died May 19th in 1982. Speaking on behalf of his grandfather, please welcome Aaron Anderson, who is attending along with Cappy's daughter Karen. Please join me in welcoming Cappy Kaplan, a builder in fastball, into the Regina Sports Hall of Fame.
Thanks, Craig. It's my honor to formally recognize the late Cappy Kaplan as a member of the Regina Sports Hall of Fame. On behalf of my mother, Karen, wife, Rochelle, daughters, Meg and Quinn, we are very proud of him being inducted by committee members. As Craig mentioned, he began his fastball career as founder, coach, and general manager of the Army and Navy women's team back in 1939. We even have 2 members of the traditional women's teams that he coached here tonight, and I want to recognize them. Sitting at the back is Elaine Silzer and Peggy Goodhue. Could you please stand, ladies? Well, 60 years of tradition there, so that's a very proud moment for our family. I recall him telling me and several other people how he was released early from the Canadian Navy during World War II. Apparently, some of the heads of the Navy found out he coached this women's fastball team back in Regina, who had members playing in the United States. Of course, at the time, the Great American National Pastime had ceased operations, while many of its pro baseball players were at war. Somehow, he managed to convince the Navy that he could develop more talent if he were released early. Believe it or not, they let him go. Now, this story is totally not very accurate, but it is something that he was able to do in a manner to come back with, to be with his wife Sadie and help raise my mother Karen. His men's fastball coaching career began in 1958, and Craig mentioned several of the teams there that he helped to coach and start up, Royals, Red Caps, Carlings, and then of course one of the things that he was very proud of, he didn't really boast a lot, but when the field was named after him in 1970 out at Mount Pleasant, that was one of his highlights of his career. With all of these teams being named after breweries, you may be thinking that my grandfather liked his beer. As a matter of fact, George Reed, one of his longtime friends who was a Molson's rep at the time, sold a lot of that product to his teams, but it was all for his players. I can recall growing up watching him sit in his private box at Kaplan Field, pouring a few social drinks for his league partners and friends that he invited upstairs to watch the game. However, it wasn't beer, it was only dark rum. I never saw him drunk, just enjoying life in general. He had a way with people, both in fastball and our community, that helped shape who I am today. He always tried to promote the sport, had giveaways, special ladies' ticket prices, was just a tremendous role model. Back in his day, I was told by several of his ball players, such as Bob Taylor and Bobby McNabb, that he could handle a fungo bat with amazing precision. He would hit perfect fly balls to the outfield and 2 hoppers to the infielders that amazed those on the field and was talked about by many of his observers and fans. Bill Rickard, longtime coach, man with the famous handlebar mustache, whose wife Shirley is in attendance with our family tonight, even presented that fungo bat to me a few years back, and there's about 50 years of dents in that bat that brought back some pretty good memories being told those stories. Of course, one of Cappy's trademarks had to be the 8 to 10 cigars he smoked a day. Between cigarettes, the occasional drink, and 3 heart attacks, he still had time to take me to Minneapolis and Seattle to watch dozens of major baseball games. We used to show up about 90 minutes before the game to watch batting practice and fielding. He talked about footwork and fundamentals as being very important. I remember how when we got to Old Metropolitan Stadium in Minneapolis, he parked right at the front of the stadium where the VIPs parked. He kibitzed with the ushers like he had known them for years and showed them his nitroglycerin pills for his heart condition. It worked every time as they allowed him to park incredibly close to the stadium entrance. He only needed about 10 minutes and 3 pills to get to our seats, which were normally a 2-minute walk at the most. Anything for his grandson. Another great story was in 1979. The Kingdome in Seattle had just opened in 1977 and he wanted to check it out. Well, Cappy loved the Twins almost as much as his Dodger Blue, so we went to Vancouver to visit relatives, but that was just kind of a hoax. It was all really to go watch this 3-game set in Seattle between the Twins and the Mariners. So we get to the Dome early as usual, but we were parked a long way away from the entrance. So he sees a guy driving a golf cart full of programs on it. He helps to unload, take the programs off, and then he convinces the driver to take his wife Sadie, myself, and him to the stadium. So he then proceeds to tell my grandmother and I that he will meet us at our seats. So my grandmother and I, we walk up several ramps because these seats are in the upper deck right behind home plate. So we get up there and he's already seated. I say, "Grandpa, how did you do that?" "Easy. I took the press elevator and said, 'Bob Hughes, Regina Leader Post.'" True story. Although everyone knew him as Cappy, there were times when my grandma would call him Arnold, his real name. She was the only person that my mother and I can remember who called him by his birth name. This only happened when she was somewhat upset by the amount of time he was spending at the fastball park. In closing, Cappy would be truly overwhelmed by this induction into the Regina Sports Hall of Fame. The city of Regina should be thankful he decided to move from Brandon. The only things he loved even close to his family and fastball were the riders and the people of Regina. You've made a great choice. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Aaron. Some really funny stories and some good memories. The lot of beer stories, I'm sure, and rum and cokes. It reminds me, I read an article today, and that just triggered my memory. I read an article today on the dangers of heavy drinking, and it really scared the heck out of me. So that's it. After today, no more reading. So that's it. Done. Coached by Joe Lahovsky with assistance from Archie Procession and Tony Antonishin and manager Bernie Perron, the Panthers were the first Saskatchewan female team to win a national softball championship, a feat that has not been repeated at the time of this induction. Despite being midget-aged, which was 18 and under in 1989 and 1990, the Panthers played in the Senior Regina Ladies Softball League A division, Off-season practicing started in January and continued with a hectic schedule of attending tournaments throughout Western Canada. The team financed their travel through fundraising, winning back-to-back provincial midget championships, earned them a berth in the 1990 Canadian Championships, which were held in Edmonton. The Panthers were among the pre-tournament favorites, but they lost their first 4 round-robin games before rebounding with 3 victories to finish in a 3-way tie for 4th. This forced the Panthers to play back-to-back tiebreakers, which they won 2-1 over Nova Scotia and 2-0 against Edmonton before playing Alberta in a playoff contest. The Panthers capped an 8-hour day on the diamond with a 6-3 victory, followed the next day by a 2-1 victory over Ontario and a 7-0 Mercy Rule victory over BC in the gold medal match. The team members from the 1990 group were Andrea Antonishin, Colleen Clausen, Denise Dubord, Pam Granger, Nada Lahovsky, Rhonda Holt, Marnell Jalbert, Bonnie Lingelbach, Danita Machalski, Lori Perron, Helena Procession, Kara Statistician, Kyla Hubick. The roster was also bolstered with 2 Saskatoon players in Joylyn Zolkovich and Lori Eckert. The Regina Panthers are holding a reunion here tonight, and please note that the 2 of the team members have actually been honored before this evening in our province. Rhonda Holt was honored last year for her performance in racquetball, and Nada Lahovsky was honored in 2003 in the Saskatchewan Sports Hall of Fame for her involvement in softball. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together and welcome the 1990 Regina Panthers girls midget softball team into the Regina Sports Hall of Fame. With us tonight are the coaches, the head coach Joe Lahovsky, Archie Procession, Tony Antonishin, and manager Bernie Perron. Come on up. Also team members, Colleen Clausen, Pam Granger, Nada Lahovsky, Rhonda Holt, Marnell Jalbert, Bonnie Lingelbach, Lori Perron, Helena Procession, and Lori Eckert. Did I miss one? That's it? Head coach Joe Lahovsky is going to speak on behalf of the team. Joe?
I would like to start by saying thank you to the Regina Sports Hall of Fame for selecting the Regina Panthers for induction into this hall. We are honored to be included with all the other distinguished inductees. The honor means a lot to the team. The Hall's efforts are appreciated by the fact that we have members who traveled from Vancouver and all the way from New York to be with us tonight. The Panthers Canadian Championship was not a one-day lucky fluke at the Nationals. The nucleus of the team started as 10-year-olds playing in the Regina Minor Girls Softball League. Their first year together, they had a perfect record. They lost every game they played. 7 years later, they were crowned as the best 18-year-old girls team in Canada. In between losing all their games as 10-year-olds and winning a national championship, there was a lot of hard work and sacrifices made. During the winter, they practiced indoors. We had an indoor batting cage, and the girls could be found there every Sunday swinging at hundreds of balls. In order to be competitive at a national level, they had to play against the best teams in Western Canada and Central United States. As teenagers, they give up their summer weekends traveling to tournaments from Vancouver to Minneapolis and cities in between. To fund their travel expenses, the players on this team spend many evenings in bingo halls. They also sold and delivered mountains of sausages and ham. At the Nationals in Edmonton, the Panthers lost their first 4 games, then won 8 straight on their way to capturing the national championship. In those 8 games, they scored 33 runs while holding their opponents to 8 runs. These girls played 5 straight games without committing an error. I did not realize just how good they were because of being with them continually. I continued coaching with other young ladies and never had the same success as I had reached with this 1990 team. As an example of how good they were, those of you who have coached at a national level are aware that in summer sports, BC and Ontario tends to dominate due to their larger population and longer summers. In the gold medal game, the Panthers took on the best from BC and defeated them soundly, invoking the mercy rule, meaning the game was called early because they had scored so many runs. A minor sports championship could not be won without the support of a lot of people. The parents spent countless hours working bingos and other fundraising activities. For their time and efforts, the Panthers would like to say thank you. This recognition is also your recognition. We also received great support from the business community, a collection too numerous to name individually. We counted on their annual financial support to help us attend national championships. There is one gentleman I would like to acknowledge who coordinated many of our fundraising activities. That was our president, Alf Lingelbach, who is sitting down there with the team. All the players and volunteers working together towards the one goal really showed me the true meaning of the word team. The coaches, Archie, Tony, manager Bernie, and myself say thank you to the girls for taking us along for the ride in 1990. Seeing that I haven't used all my allotted time, I'd like to relate a short story about coaching. Now, as you people are all in sports, you know that sporting people are really superstitious. The young ladies have never heard this story. After we had lost the 4 games at Nationals, some of the parents and the coaches' wives decided we should go out to eat supper at some restaurant other than in the hotel. So we drove some distance to find a restaurant, which was a good idea, except the food was really bad. But what happened? Next day we won our game. So in order to keep our good luck chain running, we had to go back to the same restaurant. Now, the parents absolutely refused to go back. We forced our wives to come with us. So we won again the next day. Now, our wives absolutely refused to come with us, so coaches were left by themselves to go back to the restaurant. Now, we could hardly stand the smell of the food anymore. And 2 more nights we were back there for supper. We just ordered the food, stuck our fork into it, sat there for a half hour, got up and paid for it, and went home. But we never broke that luck chain. So girls, the coaches did make some sacrifices. Now that I have another second still left. One of the players in Edmonton had an aunt that was a nun, a sister with the Catholic Church. This nun was jovial, happy-go-lucky lady, but she came to every game with her rosary and stayed and sat in the bleachers behind the dugout praying the rosary for us to win the ball game. So after we'd lost about 3 or 4 games, I was talking to her and I said, well, you may need more than this rosary. You may have to bring the Pope here for us to win a ball game. Anyway, our luck held and her rosary worked because we won all the next game. And we had won the A side of the playoffs, so it meant we would be in the gold medal game. So the Saturday evening before our gold medal game on Sunday afternoon at 2 o'clock, the parents and the wives decided that we should go to church, the church that the sister belonged to. So Sunday morning, we drive across the city of Edmonton to go to church. We got there and the priest had been told about us and our visit, so he introduced us to the congregation. So all was well and good, except I was quite anxious to get back to the hotel and get the girls ready to play their championship game. We get out of the church and I'm informed that we have to go to the sisters for breakfast. There was quite a few of the sisters had partially stayed up during the night and cooked breakfast for us, so it would not be polite to leave. Well, no way was I going to go sit with some nuns just before our biggest game ever, but I had no choice, and I went and had breakfast with the nuns. Now, I'll tell you, I was getting pretty hyper and excited, but I'm sitting there trying to be a gentleman. Wasn't sure we were even going to make it to the game in time, which was the gold medal game. But we did get to the ball diamond, and fortunately we had a trainer whose job it was to get the girls from the hotel on a bus. So we met the girls at the ball diamond, and because I hadn't been around to get them all hyper and excited, they were very relaxed, and we probably had the best warm-up that we ever had. So as the game was going to start, I'm standing in front of the dugout, and I hear somebody screaming my name behind me. I look around, sure enough, it's the nun holding the rosary up there, and proudly sitting beside her was the parish priest. So I turned around and hollered at her, and I said, I thought I told you to bring the Pope. So girls, we may have had some divine help. Now, I'd like to close by congratulating all the other inductees, and thank you to the Regina Sports Hall of Fame directors for a job well done. Thank you.
Very funny stuff. I can just picture the PA announcer at the Nationals trying to pronounce all the names. It must have been quite funny. Our final inductee this evening is Doug Simon, athlete in the sport of baseball. Doug played for the Canadian National Baseball Team from 1971 to 1980. He participated in Baseball World Cups in Cuba, Nicaragua, and Italy. Also in international competitions in Florida, Montreal, and the 1975 Pan Am Games in Mexico City, and the 1979 Pan Am Games in San Juan, Puerto Rico. Doug was named the team captain, and he was selected to the World All-Star Team 3 times as an outfielder. He joined the national team while playing for Washington State from 1971 to 1974, where he won All-Conference and All-America honors at 8. He set or tied 6 Pac-8 records with 3 home runs, 9 RBI, 14 total bases, 2 triples in 1 game, and 2 home runs in 1 inning. Coach Bobo Brayton named him to the school's all-time All-Star team with John Olerud and Ron Say. Doug had played minor baseball in Regina and was considered the best baseball player to come out of our city. He spent 12 seasons through the 1970s and 1980s as playing manager of the senior Regina Red Sox, winning numerous batting championships and All-Star awards. In his last 3 years with the Red Sox, the team won bronze, silver, and gold medals at the Canadian Senior Men's Championships. He continued coaching minor baseball after retiring as a player. Doug earned a Coach of the Year laurels from the Saskatchewan Baseball Association and helped to develop an advanced coaching manual while a member of the Sports Technical Committee. And he was inducted into the Saskatchewan Baseball Hall of Fame as a player and a builder in 1994. Doug was born May 5th, 1950 in Regina, and he's here tonight. Please welcome Doug Simon, the athlete in the sport of baseball, in the Regina Sports Hall of Fame.
Thank you, Craig. I had more hair back then. I was going to mention that, but I thought, well, I was going to ask you to stand up, but all my life, when I was growing up as a kid, I can remember all I ever wanted to do was play baseball. My summer vacation was playing baseball. I thought that's what it was all about. We didn't have much when we were growing up, and we couldn't have went anywhere on a summer vacation anyway, so that's what I ended up doing. As in everything, you don't get to be where you are without the help and influence of others and people who have shown you the way or helped you to develop as a person or as an athlete. And certainly when I was a young kid, there was 2 or 3 people that stick out in my mind that helped me in my career. The first gentleman was one of my coaches when I was about 12 or 13. His name is Leo Kobayashi, and he passed away a couple of weeks ago, so my condolences go to him, his family. But Leo was the kind of guy that always had a smile on his face. And I don't remember him from his coaching ability. I remember from the fact that we had fun when we were playing baseball. And we couldn't wait actually till the game was over, win or lose, because we'd all rush to the concession stand because Leo would buy us pop and anything else that he could. And always a big smile on his face. The other person that, of course, was Lionel Rohr. And many of you know Lionel, who was just a great baseball person, a great individual, and dedicated his life to baseball, and certainly showed me all the positive aspects of how to play the game, how to be a good person, and all those good attributes. Mel Isaac was a sports reporter, which I'm sure many of you know about. And he was a big supporter of mine, and certainly helped me in my career, and was instrumental in a tie with the Montreal Expos, which eventually ended up with me getting a scholarship to Washington State University. So he was very instrumental in my career. The other one was Cass Belak, who's sitting there smiling in the back. Cass was the president of the Saskatchewan Baseball Association, president of Baseball Canada, and president of International Baseball Association, and certainly was a big supporter of mine, a friend of mine, and I thank him deeply for everything that he did for me as well. And I always told Cass he was going to have to come and pay to see me one day, so. Thank you, Cass. Now, we all have highlights, and I just want to share with you for a couple of minutes here some of my experience. And basically, it was my first experience on the national team, and that was to go to Cuba. Now, back in the 70s, I guess I was about 10 at that time, Cuba was something very mysterious. It's not like you have the internet today and all the advertising and the vacations and everything like that. Cuba was just, to us as young kids, just a place of mystery, of intrigue, the tropics, revolution, and a lot of political ramifications that go on. So we really had no idea what was going on in Cuba, aside from the fact that we were going to Cuba. And of course, we're very excited. Adding to the intrigue, by the way, was a trip or a visit by the RCMP to my house, telling me all about communist Cuba and things to look out for. And by the way, we'll come and visit you when I come back, and you can tell us all about these things that are happening in Cuba. Now, there was 3 of us that were leaving for the Cuba trip from Saskatchewan, myself and Andy Logan, a catcher from the Regina and the Regina Red Sox, and Randy Monk from Saskatoon. Now, we were cool at the time. It was our first plane flight for all 3 of us. So here we are on the plane, and I guess it was kind of obvious that we'd never flown before, because we were all over the plane, we're looking out the windows, we're going back and forth, just laughing and being happy and having a good time. Well, the stewardess finally comes up to us, we're all sitting in a row, all 3 of us on the row, and I'll never forget what she said and what she did. She says, "Experienced travelers always wear their seat belts." And then she proceeded to give us these pilot wings that you put on your shirt that she was giving to all the little kids on the plane. That put us in our place for a while. Now, we were landing in Havana, and immediately there's a couple of things that strike you: the heat, the people, but really, the people were just very, very friendly. And actually what we did is we flew all over the island when we were playing baseball. And at every island stop or every city stop, there was always a band playing, waiters with daiquiris, and we always had a reception in the airport. So they treated us very well. But the people were very, very poor. They really didn't have anything, but they gave us the best that they had. The other thing that was very noticeable was the security that was evident all over the place, and that was because of the American embargo and all the politics that were going on. Of course, at the time, we really didn't know much about politics, but there were guards everywhere. There was a wreckage of an old U.S. fighter plane that many people would stand in the Victory Square and observe, and it was one of their little symbols. And they had all these guards stationed all over the place with metal umbrellas to keep them out of the sun. Now, I have no idea what they were guarding or what they did, but we were staying at the Havana Libra Hotel. It used to be the Havana Hilton. And there were guards all around the place with metal umbrellas. And basically, like I said, I have no idea what they were doing. Now, our first baseball game was in their baseball stadium, and baseball to the Cubans was like hockey to the Russians or hockey to the Canadians. Whether it was the Russian Army team and they played hockey all year, the Cubans, they played baseball all year. And it was a passion for them, it was a national sport, it was big time stuff. The first game that we had was 60,000 people. So that's about the equivalent of 2 Taylor Fields plus some. And of course, when the umpires would come out, they would whistle. That's how they booed. So the whole stadium of 60,000 people would be hissing and whistling. And I remember I was playing right field, and I was praying to God that they weren't going to hit me a ball and I was going to boot it and get the wrath of the crowd going at me. After the game, which was really a standout, was they had the guards, like I said, the guards were everywhere. They had to form a line, so you had to almost go through a gauntlet to get to your buses, because the people would be there, and all they wanted to do was touch you or do whatever. And so we're going through this gauntlet of guards, and the people there are basically saying, "Chiclet, chiclet, sigaret, sigaret," because that's what they want. They had nothing, right? So the guards are clearing all these people away, and we're scrambling on the buses, and we get on the bus, and then the guards start knocking on the doors and the windows, yelling, "Chiclet, chiclet, see that, see that." So the guards were doing their job, but they were poor too. Now, Cuba, of course, is an island, and there was a little bit of talk about food just recently. Well, my idea of fish is Butler's Fish and Chips. Everything we ate at the hotel was fish. In the first week, I lost 10 pounds, and that's a true story. I'm not making that up. I could not eat the fish. Fish soup, fish cakes, fish dessert. Everything was fish. I ate buns in Canada Dry. One day they brought in steaks, and we thought, oh, this is good. I wasn't the only guy suffering. We thought, oh, this is going to be real good. We get steaks, right? So they cooked up the steaks, and they put fish sauce on them. Now, on occasion, what we did is we went to a couple of the nightclubs. Like, the nightclubs really didn't exist after the Americans had left, because there was just nobody. So they would give us entertainment. They had the native dancers and everything like that, but we always looked forward to the s'mores because they set out all the food. So we went there, and we're all standing around. The entertainment's gone, and we can go pick and choose all the things we want. So we were all hovering around this huge tray of chicken. We thought, this is great. We're just stuffing ourselves. And then we had an interpreter. He was a university student. His name was George. So we called George over there, and he sees us just pigging out here. And we said, "Hey, George, have some chicken." He says, "Oh, so you guys like the frog's legs, do you?" Now, the other thing that was a little interesting as well is, like I said earlier, that we would travel, like we'd fly to the other side of the island and play baseball. One game we flew to the other side of the island, and I think it was called Santiago. And of course, you get off at the airport, and there's the bands playing, and the daiquiris, and the waiters with the trays, and everything like that. So we played our baseball game, and we're going back, and they say, well, we can't fly back to Havana. There's a storm or a hurricane going on, so you're going to have to stay the night. So we go, well, okay. Of course, we didn't have no shaving, nothing, no clothes, just our baseball uniforms and smelly cleats. Well, this went on for 2 days, saying, oh, no, you can't go back. There's a big storm in Havana. So finally, we get to go back, and we're going back into the hotel, and we say, oh, how was the storm? And they go, what storm? There's no storm here. So we go back in our rooms. All our luggage had been searched, and there was a bug put up in the roof vent. We used to have a waiter that was kind of befriended us because we'd ask him to bring Cokes and room service, and we'd sit down there and talk with him, and we'd call him in, and we'd start talking, and he'd go, shh, he'd be pointing to the roof vent because everything was bugged. So after that, we had some quite lively discussions just to make sure that they could hear us. Now, there really wasn't anything to do in Cuba back then. All the stores were empty. There were no products there. There was nothing to buy. There really was very little. The people really had nothing to do, but they were just super people. And we didn't have any money anyway, so it worked out pretty good. We didn't have anything to buy. Although, you know, we were very prudent because we did find out that the rum was cheaper than the Coke. So every once in a while, we have a nice little party up in our room and try to entertain ourselves by throwing oranges down at the guards' umbrellas from the 12th floor, and then scurrying and shutting the lights out after they came running up trying to find out who was throwing stuff at them. So we had a little game going on there for several nights. Now, all good things would come to an end, and by the time it was that we were heading home, we were ready to come home. We were kind of tired. We enjoyed our baseball, of course, because that's why we're there. But we were homesick, had no money, and it was time to come home. So we ended up flying to Toronto, and Andy Logan and myself, of course, we were both from Regina. Everybody else was scattering off and flying off to different places. So we were in the airport, and we spent our last couple of dollars sitting down having some Cokes. We had lots of time because our flight was leaving later. And so I said to Andy, I said, well, why don't we might as well go to our gate. We got nothing else to do. We can always just fall asleep at the gate waiting for our flight. So I go up to the gate, and I go up to the attendant at the gate, and I said, what time is the flight? Is it on time? And she says, well, your flight just left 10 minutes ago. And, but she did casually inform us that 15:35 is not 5:35. So we had no money, and we figured, oh, this is going to be great. It had absolutely nothing, but we did luck out, and we managed to catch the later flight and get home. In closing, I'd like to thank the committee for selecting me, and as well congratulate all the other inductees. But as I said earlier, you can't achieve success alone. There's always people along the way that help you in your life, in your career, and you always got to remember those. The past coach, I got teammates. I saw a couple of my friends here as well from the Red Sox. Debbie Hill, who nominated me to the Regina Sports Hall of Fame. My co-workers at Brant Tractor, they're the best company in the world, by the way. Performance reviews are just coming up. Actually, they were taking bets to see if I can talk for 2 minutes or less. My family was in on it. And my family for coming as well. And most importantly, my wife Charlotte, who's been with me all these years and certainly supported me in all my baseball activities. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Doug. And that kind of brings our evening to almost a close. I just want to mention a couple of things. Just want to thank Access Communication for once again taping this and then rebroadcasting it at a later date. We really appreciate that.